Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, a dumb customer Karen slaps a deaf person in a store for not paying attention to her and refusing to obey her. She did not realize that he is the owner of the store. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the story. I get this all the time. People talk to me not realizing that I am deaf and get notably upset because they think that I'm ignoring them. In the vast majority of cases, when they realize that I'm deaf, they realize their mistake and become very apologetic. I say in the vast majority of cases because in this one incident they were not, as you are about to find out. And well, I don't hold it against these people, it's not their fault, and it's not like I walk around with a sign around my neck saying, "Hello, my name is John and I'm deaf." The only real way people would be able to tell that I am deaf is if they see my hearing aid. The hearing aid doesn't actually let me hear beyond anything more than a low mumble, which is often enough to let me know that people are talking to me. Being deaf since I was a child, I have grown very used to it and have become quite proficient with reading lips, so much so that I don't really need to use sign language. People will often think that I'm slow or something because of the way I talk, but I am not, I'm just deaf. My disability has done nothing to stop me from becoming a successful businessman, and I own several small convenience stores around the state that I live in. My dream is to be as big as Walmart, though I'm not delusional and understand that owning a small chain is just as much of a success as I could have ever hoped for. I travel around checking in on my shops most of the time, though I work from the one in my hometown. It used to be a great way of life and I loved every second of it, meeting all the people that work for me and just generally making the most of it, but then came along this Karen. She moved into my hometown some years ago and was eager to make a name for herself right from the get-go. I would hear on the grapevine from other business owners of this vile, detestable woman who would wander into stores, make a fuss about the smallest things, and then float out of there again. The first time she came to my store, she made a complaint about the feminine hygiene products being at the back, accusing us of attempting to hide a woman's natural monthly cycles like it was some sort of shameful act. Which honestly is just crazy. I mean, the customer may always be right, but only in matters of taste. I like to pride myself on my good customer service, and if I ever hear that of one of my employees is not practicing good customer service, then that employee will get written up. I also like to practice what I preach, so I took Karen's complaint seriously and moved things about. That was my first mistake. I pandered to the rantings of a deranged Karen. I gave her power. I showed her that she had the control. I was very lucky to have been out whenever she would call the manager, so the assistant manager has always been there to deal with the situation. I would even go as far as to call him the emergency Karen technician. And well, one day, the day of the incident, I'm on the shop floor inspecting the displays when Karen comes into the store. All I knew of this, the only warning I had that there was something amiss, was an almost immediate drop in the mood. Obviously, I did not have the experience with Karen to recognize the warnings for what they were, and the EKT was out on her lunch break. At the time, being lunchtime, it gets very busy in the store, all the office drones buzzing around looking for something to eat or using the time to run a quick shopping errand. So it was difficult for me to discern the normal background buzz with the low hum of someone trying to talk to me. I only know what happened because I went back to look at the CCTV after the event, but Karen was there for a good 5 minutes before I noticed she was even there. She went from calm to Hulk-level anger in a heartbeat, and I missed it all. I was on my knees checking the stock on a bottom shelf. I think they were shampoos or something when she came waltzing over and asked me something, to which I now know she was looking for hairspray. When she didn't get a response from me, she immediately went into Karen mode, and on the CCTV I could see her later waving her hands and stamping her feet like a real toddler throwing a tantrum. When I got back up and turned to see Karen, I got such a fright as I had not noticed that she was there. She must have thought I was being aggro or something, because her immediate reaction was to slap me around the face. It can be difficult to read someone's lips when they are speaking in a hurried and heated manner, but I got the general gist of what she was trying to say, and I tried to apologize as best as I could and explain that I was deaf, but she wouldn't hear me out. She actually accused me of mocking her and demanded that she should be given a discount for the mistreatment. I tried to calm her down, but before I could do anything, everyone within earshot came to my aid and hounded Karen out the door. I thought that would be the last of it, and with any luck, the self-entitled Karen would not return to the shop. However, I was so far wrong. About an hour later, the cops show up and they ask to see the manager, in other words me, and we get speaking. While I talk with one, the other goes to check the CCTV, and that is when Karen comes waltzing back into the shop like she owns the place, jabbing her stubby fingers at me and gloating like she had won some great victory over me. This does nothing to help her situation though, and only serves to turn the cop against her, as she was kicking up another fuss and demanding that I be carted away for my mistreatment of her. I cannot see what the cop is saying as he had his back to me, but whatever it was, Karen was not happy with it, and I'm pretty sure she demanded his badge number. This next part I don't entirely want to recite word for word, as it was pretty bad, but she made a comment about me hiring illegal immigrants and that the cop should be checking all the Mexicans I have working at my stores, but she didn't say Mexican, she said something far less respectful. Unluckily for her, the cop that had gone to look over the CCTV footage was Mexican, and he took Karen's words to heart. She refused to apologize and was arrested there and then for the assault because I now pressed charges. Not wanting to pass up the opportunity, I spoke to the cop and asked him if I had grounds to sue her for assault. He told me that with the evidence they had and the witnesses they could call upon, there was a good chance that Karen would be facing jail time. I couldn't believe my luck, and now the status quo has been re-established. I don't know what's gonna happen to Karen as of now. She has yet to appear in court and is currently spending her time in county jail. No one was willing to pay her bail, so she is stuck behind bars until the judge can set a court date, and even then, there's a very good possibility that she will face going to prison or something for a good amount of time. I can only think that somewhere down the line she must have pissed off the judge, and now the judge is enacting his own vengeance. Needless to say, none of us are all too upset to see the back of Karen. And yeah, Ripe Stars, honestly, for people like this, especially that attack deaf people, I only wish them the worst. Let's hope that Karen won't see the light of day anytime soon again. Anyway, the next one is a malicious compliance story. It starts like this. This is about a decade ago, but still well within the realm of the internet. I was a technical writer for the government and had slowly been transferring our old employee handbook, think government bureaucracy from the 1940s, into a modern and actually useful doc. Think one page with our policies and links to useful websites like Office of Personnel Management, forms for workmen's compensation, etc. My boss wanted the whole thing printed out on her desk the next morning. This was Monday after Thanksgiving weekend. I printed out the 200 or so pages and just had the links to the various websites in bold. This took about an hour and I left it on her desk before going home that night. She calls me in her office on Tuesday afternoon and proceeds to yell at me at how stupid I am. Do I think people can just go to a website when it's on paper? No, I need to print everything out. I calmly tell her that these sites are pretty dense and deep and it would be about 10,000 pages. She says she does not care, it needs to be on her desk, damn it, first thing Monday morning. Mind you, this is now Tuesday and we usually had some of Wednesday off. I was not really planning to work Thursday, Thanksgiving or Friday as I had applied for leave and was looking forward to a nice relaxing long weekend. I don't have family but I had plans, but okay, I asked for and got the request to have everything pertaining to the employee handbook online in a printed format. I also had real work and real deadlines. A quick bit of context though, she was my boss and she did my performance appraisals and she could make my life miserable and possibly fire me. However, my clients were teams that put together engineering plans, biological assessments, scientific journal articles, reports to Congress, etc. This had real-world deadlines. On some of these, if you missed the publication date, your agency paid $100,000 a day in delay fees. Or you would piss off a congressperson, which is never a good idea. And I was getting really sick and tired of my boss's requests that took me away from my actual work. So I was printing and printing all the rest of Tuesday afternoon and then Wednesday. I had to go to the site, print, click on the next link, print, etc. On Wednesday we got a letter from a Congress critter that was actually important. And had we not gotten that, I might not have done what I did. So anyway, I got overtime approved pronto to take care of this request. So I did work on Thanksgiving. As I was doing that, I kept on printing. And printing. I used up every sheet of paper in our 14-story building. I kept on researching the response for the congressional, printing, going to the next floor to carefully get that packet of paper to tuck under the appropriate page, etc. I had paper in about 20 different conference rooms. I could have done the congressional in about 8 hours, but it was not due until Monday. And all of this printing took me a good 24 hours of work. So I put in for 32 hours, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and got it done. This is now 2 stacks of paper, each about 6 feet high. I was way under in my estimate of 10,000 pages, as it was more like about 30,000. Remember, I had at least 5 printers going at once for 4 days, etc. I put this in my boss's office, which was already none too clean and pristine. I got written up with a disciplinary hearing and everything. The charge was malicious compliance. I kept my job only because I did have her request in an email. Update: I did not expect this to get more than a few hundred views, so thank you all for reading. I said I kept my job because the boss was very upset and was going to HR demanding that I be put on a performance improvement plan, PIP, where she could then take her revenge and create other issues that would have gotten me fired. I was probably not in danger of being fired simply for this action, but I was not put on a PIP. I was given a disciplinary letter, so the only actual fallout was that I could not get a bonus. We get $1,000 bonuses if our performance is above average. I would have been okay in an RIF, as this is a mild punishment, and yes, the charge actually and literally was malicious compliance. That was what was written on the disciplinary letter. She could not get me on anything else. She had not set any limits: you can only spend X hours, print out X materials, etc. And I had her instructions in an email to print out the handbook and all pertaining information from websites. I don't remember the exact wording. I probably should have kept that all these years, but when I left the government after 3 decades, I pretty much threw out everything. The 2 6-foot stacks were not just the paper printouts, the handbook covered everything and was more of an intranet in itself. I had been working on this project for a long time in my spare time. The handbook covered everything. In short, this was a very well organized intranet where you could quickly find exactly what you needed and no more. I had human resources policies on leave, tardiness, all disciplinary actions, retirement, health insurance, taxes, transfer requests, etc., how to write all types of reports, planning reports, facility review reports, congressionals, etc., along with all templates for the reports, project management and public involvement processes, etc., every position description and how to write performance reviews, award letters, etc., even emergency procedures for particular buildings, etc. There was absolutely no reason to print this out, and my boss never gave me a reason. I had been arguing against printing this for at least a year before my boss gave me the order to even print the 200 pages I had in the first place. These 200 pages each briefly explained the situation, for example, why we do a job hazard analysis, what it should cover and who should do one, and then give links, for example, to the Word template you could download and use and to good examples. So I already had a lot of material that I just put into the piles. So the piles looked like index tab with sticky for the topic, sheet of paper explaining the concept, ream of paper printing out the internet, all of the pages with the related links, neatly put into a notebook, pre-printed examples of templates, reports, etc. We did have a printing unit off-site, so major jobs were printed there. Thus, we did not have that many copiers in the building, just 1 per floor. And yes, before you ask, my boss could have asked the copy unit to do this work, but the copy unit would only print things that were already in a pre-approved PDF format. They would not have printed the internet for my boss. And yes, my boss kept her job. She was promoted soon after from being the group manager of about 15 people to being the deputy chief of a division of several hundred people. And yes, I worked at the same job, technical writer, for 30+ years. First off, I loved what I did. I was good at it. I never wanted to go into management and deal with people headaches myself, and second off, I needed the health insurance and would not have been able to get a private company job because of my underlying handicap. So staying put in the government and doing what I loved worked out well for me, and I was quite effective at my job. I wrote documents that allowed decision makers to understand complex issues and make good decisions employees use and protect our facilities. My colleagues respected me and we worked well together. Yes, this is the US federal government, and we did have a very ineffectual union where only a few people were allowed to be bargaining unit members, and the union could have done very little to save my job. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, this is one of the first malicious compliance stories that I've read where OP actually sort of got into trouble, or at least someone noticed that he enacted malicious compliance. In all these stories, it always seems like malicious compliance is obviously something satisfying, but also something absolutely harmless that can cause no trouble for you. Either way, if you've ever participated in malicious compliance at your workplace or in your life in general, then I would love to hear your story in the comments. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. A large company is trying to buy up all the houses in my area to build a luxury resort with a golf field, pool and other things. A few days ago I got a knock on my door and someone came over and she told me that she was offering to buy my home. She was willing to give me 5% over market value. Their BS market value is less than I bought it for. I of course politely said, "No, I'm sorry, but I'm not at all interested in selling my house. Have a good day." She kept trying to sell the house and I told her, "Have a good day." 3 days later, she came back with a new offer, now 7.5% over market value. I said the same thing, "Please go away, I'm not interested." The next day someone else called me, I just hung up on them. All of my neighbors have been getting the same thing, some are deciding to sell but most are just refusing. That same lady then comes over, I was outside doing yard maintenance and says, "Hello, good news, we have a better offer for you, 12% over market value, that's great isn't it? Surely we can work something out." I then asked, "Do you have kids? A pet?" And she then responded back and said, "I have a son and 2 cats, why?" I then said, "How much for your son?" "I'll give you 15k for him and 2k for both of your cats." She confused said, "Those are not for sale." So I responded back, "Okay, douchebag, neither is my house. I hope you understand now. Get the F off my property and never come back. You're not welcome here or anywhere in this neighborhood." She said, "Listen, I tried being nice to you. Your house will be sold and we will try other legal means to get your house." Me? Did you not understand what I just said? Get the F off my property, you ugly, disgusting Karen. She left. I am scared that this company is going to try to use the domino eminente to force me to sell my house. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I'm curious what you think about this story. Do you think that OP acted like an a-hole in this story or not? Let me know in the comments. A user in the comments said, "Not the a-hole, you are under no obligation to be polite to people who cannot take no for an answer." However, companies trying to take over property are not known for being super nice themselves, so I would ask an attorney for advice on how to protect yourself. Comment number 2, not the a-hole. I also don't see how eminent domain applies. Eminent domain applies to which is built for public use. A luxury resort is a private business. You might want to get the neighbors that are staying to start a letter writing campaign. Even to the Congress, the mayor, the judge that might oversee the eminent domain that may or may not happen. Nip it in the bud. If you show that you and others will fight tooth and nail from the start, they may see it as too costly a venture to move forward with. Also maybe contact the media. Bad press won't be good for their resort. Update to the story. After I politely declined the initial offer from the representative of the company, things start to escalate quickly. It seemed as if they were determined to acquire my property no matter what, and they were becoming more and more aggressive in their tactics. I started receiving multiple phone calls and visits from different people affiliated with the company, each time with a higher offer than the last. At first it was just annoying, but it soon became clear that they were not gonna take no for an answer. One day I arrived home from work to find a notice on my door stating that the company had filed an eminent domain action against my property. They claimed that they needed my land for a public use and were willing to pay me the fair market value of my property. But I knew that they were just trying to bully me into selling. I immediately reached out to a lawyer and we started working on a case. The company's actions were not only immoral but also illegal, and we were determined to prove that in court. As we began to investigate, we discovered that the company had a history of using underhanded tactics to acquire land. They'd buy up neighboring properties and then use the threat of eminent domain to force the holdouts to sell. The more we learned, the more convinced we became that the company was just looking to turn a profit at the expense of our community. They were planning to build a luxury resort with a golf course, pool and other amenities, but at what cost? Throughout the legal battle, the company's aggression only grew. They hired private investigators to dig up dirt on us, hoping to find some way to discredit our case. They even went as far as trying to intimidate us by hiring security guards to stand outside our homes. Despite their tactics, we never backed down. We knew that we were fighting for what was right and we were determined to see it through to the end. Finally, after months of legal battles, we emerged victorious, the judge ruled in our favor and the company was forced to back off. They were ordered to pay us for the legal fees and damages we had incurred during the process. It was a long and difficult fight, but in the end we were able to protect our community from the greed of a large corporation. The experience taught me the importance of standing up for what's right and never giving in to those who try to bully or intimidate us. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.